Guys, no way. It's Demon Time, episode 7. I know it says GottJaeger down there. He's going to be here in a second, a little bit. Just thought I'd get it started. It's Friday. It's May 6th. We had Cinco de Mayo. What else we got? We got Star Wars Day. Pretty good. And of course, you got this guy right here. These guns. I know you're a little jealous. But I was just thinking today, it's a chill day, you know, it's getting towards the end of the quarter. We're kind of just we're going down to the end. It's going to be pretty nice being done with it. I can't wait. But I was just like, I wanted to talk with Matt about kind of like how things are going. I mean, man, I'm old. I'm like almost 20. I got look at all these stress marks. Look at all those wrinkles. I mean, look at that. I'm totally not forcing them, but man, I got the wrinkles for days. But yeah, so I'm kind of chilling. It's a crazy day. We got some big things in the works. More germ on the street. Kind of wild. Not gonna lie, lately people. I hate people lately. I swear, I deal with some interesting fellas. I really do. Yeah. This is now rant with Germ. This is Germ's hour. It's pretty funny because I was getting a little angry at my classes. Yeah, classes kind of suck sometimes, and I was like, man, I'm learning how to distinguish a big number from a smaller number, but in the most difficult way possible. So yeah, so that's always fun. Oh my gosh, guys, check this out. Matt is joining the call. Matt's about to be here. It's wild. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. He like any second. Check this out. Wait for it. Listen to my jams in the background. That's me composing it. Boo-doo-doo. Hear that? It's wild. It's wild, man. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm just kind of here. I hope everyone else, whoever may be watching, I don't even know if anyone's watching right now, but whoever's watching, I'm hoping you're doing well. You get to watch this amazing show. You get to breathe some fresh air. Get a little coffee. Get a little walking tacos. Oh, Matt, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Check this out. Boom, we are live at this moment. My camera's not working. That is... Man, I'm having a good day. What about you, Matt?
If what the kind of good day you're talking about? Maybe I'm having a great day then.
Are you having a fantastic day?
Maybe. I don't know. It's been. I was just fucking red most of the day, to be honest.
Really? Look at you. Okay.
Yeah. No. Did a bit of homework. Probably have more homework to do later on, but just been wanting to relax a bit, honestly, and rereading a favorite book of mine, or book series, I guess.
Ooh, what you reading?
Mother of Learning by Dominic Kermage, something. I don't know. You got Eastern European type name.
Mother of Learning. Oh, I see this. Dominic Kermage, or what? I can't pronounce that.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Oh, it's a new book as well.
Yeah. Well, there's also a web novel that he published because he published it chapter by chapter online and then compiled it into books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you ever read what's it called? It's called they're named different animals. A book is one is tiger, then there's snake, and it's these not Mongolian, some type of monk in Asia. And they're they have super fighting powers, kinda. They're actually really good. It's a 7 or 8 book series. Man, what's his name? By Jeff Stone. That's who it's by.
Okay.
Yeah, it was published, wow, almost 20 years ago. But basically today I thought I'd surprise you with a little. I'm thinking, what if we just talked about, just like how are things going? I haven't been
Okay.
able to talk to you that much about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just like a nice chill episode on a chill Friday with chill weather.
Yeah. Sure. I'm down.
So Matt, how are you?
All right. I'm doing all right. I think getting back from Virginia definitely was like
Ooh.
chaotic. Yeah, so threw my like routine out of whack. To be honest, disrupted a lot of things in my life, but we're somewhat back to normal.
Dub, who
True.
won? Who won?
DePaul Esports, yeah, no. So victory in Counter Strike, top 4 in Smash. Rocket League made playoffs at Nationals.
Top 8.
At Nationals. Valorant has the Nationals coming up, and they won the prelim series.
Let's go.
And Overwatch, they're rebuilding. Right?
Yeah, they're bringing it back. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the classic phrase is a rebuild. But yeah, Capstone continues to be interesting. Like doing a lot of stuff that's outside the wheelhouse, as it were. But it's trying to take it as a learning experience. Like,
okay.
Now they're like, does anyone know how to do video editing? I'm like,
You're like,
God help me.
Hey,
oh man,
you're getting that bread, and I know it.
I'm getting the DePaul min wage.
Yo, let's go. Yo, me too.
Dude, I mean, I was looking at the CTA ads, and it's like a bus mechanic. You make like 20.
Oh,
Yeah, $30
yeah.
starting. It was like 29 starting. I'm like, that's actually not bad. Like,
I may have to. Sorry, Courtney. I may have to go to. Just kidding. It's
I mean,
crazy,
like being
though.
a mechanic doesn't seem like a bad gig though. I mean, it's like hard work, but it's like you're not dealing with people. You're just fixing stuff. And
I
feel like
low key wanted to go to trade school if I wasn't going to go to law school, because it's like we're never gonna not need mechanics, plumbers, electricians. Like those jobs are just never going to go away.
Yeah. Same thing with construction. If it's like,
right, yeah, that too. Like we're never unless
that's a
fully
harder
automated.
job, I will say. Like being like electrician, being wiring stuff is probably less taxing on the body than fucking sledgehammer and shit and scaffolding. But but it's still needed, yeah. So like you said, it's like a reliable job, and it's like if you're doing the specialized ones like plumbing or something, like and it's like way more for me. It's like if I was in a position where I'm at, where university is like it's a reasonable financial decision to make. Like I think a lot more people would benefit from doing like if you're just trying to make money, because I've definitely had conversations with people that are like, I'm going into college to just make money. I'm like, why not just go to trade school? Because you're paying less to go. Because it's like if you're, for instance, being a doctor just to make money and you have like not a whole lot of interest in being a doctor, it's like you're like signing up for a lot of school debt and not even guaranteed to make it as a doctor, in my opinion. It's like Whereas trade school is like a much more I think viable risk to reward, because you're paying way less for classes, and they're again, you're not studying for some like mega hard exam as far as I'm aware of. You're just, as long as you know your shit, you're good to go to the next stage.
It's also much easier to get an apprenticeship
than
an internship, and there's from people that I know of that have gone into it, it seems just so much easier to get your foot in the door and get started.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it would be kind of cool to be a welder.
Yeah.
Because then you have I don't know what it's called, the welding gun or whatever, and just like learning the different welds. Like I watch those videos, I'm one of those weirdos that like Facebook, you know what? I don't like Facebook, but they listen to the right things, because they'll recommend me these like different like almost like 5-minute craft type videos of people doing like different welding things and like little construction things, and it's so cool watching it. Facebook is my TikTok, because I'll spend like 2 hours just sitting there while on a call with someone. I'm just scrolling through, go past a bunch of like my family's posts. I don't even like care about those. I just scroll for like the next video, and man, that's cool. But yeah, I would low-key want to be a welder if I wasn't going to law school.
Yeah. No, I think my friend back home, he's a welder, like, and it seems to be a good gig. He bought a house with it, so, like, with his jobs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a huge house, but it was like,
It's a
it's,
house.
it's a house and it's reasonably sized in a decent area. Um, yeah, no, because I think he welds like shipping containers and dumpsters, like any of those kind of build metal structures that
Oh,
need to be
really?
repaired. So
Oh,
they
that's
get
cool.
sent to his place of work. I mean, he's like, it's not like, oh man, mega big brain work, but someone needs to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
And
like,
it
yeah,
pays well. That's all that matters.
exactly.
It's like right out of college, like you could be 22, 23,
Yeah,
well off
exactly.
for yourself.
No debt, you're making
Yeah, no
money.
debt.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got time off. He goes, gets up early, gets home, and after, like, because I think his stuff starts like early morning. It's not even like 9. I think it's like starts at 7 or something. But then he
Wow.
gets home at like 3 or whatever,
Oh,
and then
that's nice.
and then he has his evenings off, and then go to sleep, wake up next day. It's like, I don't know. There's definitely worse gigs out there, I feel like.
Yeah, and also there's a lot less stress, I feel like. It's like when you come home from welding, whatever you're doing, if it's a
Yeah.
trade, you don't have to think about in the morning or when you're at home, like if I end up becoming a lawyer, like having some case that just lives in
Yeah.
my head rent free.
Exactly.
So I mean that must be nice. I feel like a lot of people kind of like poop on trade school.
Yeah.
That's like not a legitimate like I don't know if they put it down because they don't think it's legitimate or I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely just frustrating in my eyes when I
Hmm.
see that because it's definitely needed. And
Hmm.
if I wasn't trying to go into some not professional like white collar job,
Yeah.
is that what
Yeah. I
law
think
would
it
be
is. Yeah.
considered? Yeah.
I
If I
think so.
wasn't
Yeah.
going into some like white collar job,
Yeah.
it just seems like the more I guess looking at things more realistically, like how I could support myself as
Yeah.
easy as possible.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a lot of people have like really positive associations with college, or like think college is like a really big transformative experience. I think is kind of like, and so since college was so important to like a certain generation of people, then they like want their kids to go to college, like guaranteed, basically. I think,
Yeah.
but I think like standard academic structure isn't always the best necessarily for everyone. I think some people like want some different types of academic structure.
Oh, for sure. And it's like the weird thing with college, at least what I've noticed, is it's just kind of like more of a formality than anything else. I mean, I
Yeah.
know most of the things, like the gen eds that I'm learning right now.
Yeah.
Most of them, I'm not gonna like talk poorly about DePaul because I do enjoy being at this school, but it's like
Yeah.
I know most of it I'm not gonna use in my
Hmm.
position. It's like I took this class on the seminar on multiculturalism,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking, learning about the drag scene in the United States.
Yeah.
It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed
Yeah.
learning about that, but am I gonna use it? Not really. I
Yeah.
mean, if I use it, that's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it kind of like broadens your horizons, but I think broadening your horizons becomes like a lot more, not quite sobering, but like when you're paying thousands of dollars to like for that class that, because again, it's like you don't want to value everything by money, but it's like money does factor into the equation, like
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I am paying thousands of dollars just to have my horizons broadened. It's like, okay, I feel like I could maybe go to like a free seminar at a community center and talk with some people and maybe get some of the same benefits and not, yeah,
I feel like college, what I've noticed is, so my international friends,
yeah,
there's this like, I don't want to assume anything, but it seems like the image that Americans put across about how college should be,
yeah,
and especially with guys like joining a frat,
yeah,
being big in whatever activities you do,
hmm,
partying, whatever it may be. This like American media, I guess like Western culture, kind of promotes this like sense of what college is going to be like,
hmm,
and so it's interesting that it even gets put on to like people like myself and everyone
yeah,
else in the US, but it's like that's not really what college is about. And
no,
it's just kind of like making your own path.
Yeah, I think it's just like the loose framework of like it's kind of taking the place of like what apprenticeships should be. I feel like, and again, I think it's a lot of different fields all get mushed into college. When I think, like you said, like trade school, I feel like we should do a lot more of that, or like different careers should have very different paths. Like I feel like game design probably would function a lot better at art school, but I do also know that like the art school and like the game design conservatories also burn people out way more because they are just like nose to the grindstone. You're gonna like work and that's it. There's no like social life really at those schools. You're just grinding your work and day and night. So, and I think I was grateful for that my like first year and a half. Like, you know, I guess like I was grateful for like because basically it was up in my sophomore year. Like this was actually even before it was like my fall of my sophomore year. I was like, okay, I wanted to buckle down, and obviously the pandemic happened, so that threw a wrench in everyone's plans. But so I was grateful for like the first year of college, like doing rah like whatever social stuff. But like I didn't need anything more than a year of that, really, to be in all honesty. So yeah, I feel like there should be like I wish that was how like I guess those art schools function. It's like okay, you get 1 year of like more gen eds and obviously some career classes, but then you kind of start to put the pedal to the metal for the last 3, like another like because that's 3 years is still a lot of time, but it's like I would have missed having that first year to kind of like try stuff, you know, because I did try a lot of different things freshman year. And I think I would have missed that had I just like gone straight to an art school or whatever.
That's interesting you bring that up. I didn't really think about that since, you know, I'm not going to art school. I don't really know that many people who, I think I know like 2 people at an art school right now. But I guess you're right as far as the dynamic. It's definitely much different. It seems there's like more of a push focus for what you're doing because I think a lot of these art schools, you go in kind of knowing this is what you want to do.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
also harder to get into.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it's different at like Ivy Leagues, for example.
Yeah.
Because I want to be surprised if Ivy Leagues were like much more strict and it was just like everyone kind of has a game plan and just kind of goes for it.
Yeah, I know some universities like Brown and stuff have like you build your own curriculum and stuff. Like you don't even like you just graduate from Brown.
Really?
You don't even like if I remember correctly. Yeah, Brown is like there's like I don't think you have like necessarily you don't get a degree in something necessarily. Like it's more like you graduate from Brown. Like you know you think you just pick Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting.
I did not know that. I'm gonna have to look this up. So
I think it's Brown if I remember correctly, because they were one of the like schools I was like out of the Ivy League type, like those upper class schools. That was one of the ones I was most interested in because I think that's a really unique approach.
Yeah, there are no specific course requirements.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so that was one. And then obviously like I think like what was it? Carnegie Mellon was also interesting, same with USC, but they were like and they were kind of more traditional universities that definitely had good game design programs, but very expensive and very elite, so
it's very hard to get into those. Why'd you choose DePaul for game design?
I think it was the kind of like out of state, but not obscenely overpriced. And like because they actually offered scholarships, because you know it was like okay, if I'm getting into a USC or a Carnegie Mellon, I'm a low class student there, and then here I'm more of an upper, you know, honors type. Not actually an honors college, but I'd be kind of more of an honors type student. So whereas those schools, I'm not getting any scholarship or merit scholarship at all because everyone's fucking nutty. At those schools. And they had a good game design program. I've had no issues with the game design program like whatsoever. It's all been really great professors, and that's one thing I'm really actually grateful for DePaul is like a lot of faculty are like after you graduate, you can like they have very much like you have a relationship with them even after you graduate. Like
the faculty is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Certain programs though, I feel like,
Yeah,
or
not
certain
not
faculty.
everyone, but
Yeah,
I definitely agree. I've been able to like foster very positive relationships. The professors who truly like in the concentrations, they
yeah,
truly want to see every single person succeed,
yeah,
and it's like they know that not everyone's going to care, but the people that do care, they're so
yeah,
open to just
yeah,
meeting in their office after
exactly.
class, whatever it may be, and so having
Hmm.
I guess people like that to reach out to makes the college experience definitely a lot. I guess it helps navigate it a lot better.
Oh, I think for me it's been like the difference maker because for me it's like I have a mentor, so like whenever I have questions, I can just fucking ask someone that's like
That's
gone
nice.
through this, like the industry, before and stuff like that. So it's like it helps clear up so much stuff because yeah, again, like if you want feedback on your work, you can just ask. Like for especially for me, I was like doing art stuff where it's like if I have feedback about my work, I can just ask them
Right.
and they'll
Yeah.
give it an opinion. Like and having that mentorship relationship is just like invaluable because like it's a lifelong thing trying to learn, and stuff. So,
Yeah.
or if you're lost and you don't know what direction you should be heading, you can ask them. So, whereas I think I've talked to a lot of people and they feel lost because they don't have that relationship. And I'm like, it's actually not, like you said, it's actually not too hard to develop because, again, a lot of people are
No.
really, really open, in terms of developing that.
Well, also helps with COVID. I know you've had a completely different experience since you got your first
Mm.
year, like normal, and then it's
Yeah.
just been weird. But people
Yeah.
are so much more socially awkward ever since COVID. So
Yeah.
professors are just by talking to them, it's so weird how much different professors treat me just because I'm like a normal. Well, I don't want to label anything, but like I'll
Yeah.
just go talk to them. I'll be like, "How's it going?" Or like,
Yeah.
"Good morning, good afternoon." I'll say thank you. Like, there's so many people that I see that don't say thank you or don't
Yeah.
say good morning or whatever.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even have to be cordial like good morning. It could be like,
Yeah.
"What's up?"
Yeah.
But there's so many people that don't do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh? It's like you don't. It's taking one breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So professors, I've noticed, at least for me, have so many more are just open if I'm like, I know they love when you ask questions, no matter what it is, or just
Mhm.
being like, "How's everything going?" and just
Yeah.
sitting down for 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
it's mind-boggling to me. It's
Yeah.
absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, because again, it's like they became a teacher for a reason. So like, they're usually
Yeah,
exactly, So I would completely agree, and I think it's definitely a struggle with like, yeah, some people. Like, I mean, I felt like my social skills were like de-leveled, bro. I felt
really.
like so much after the pandemic, man. Like like the first times when I was going out with people again, I'm like, ooh, like some of those conversations, I'm like that was not my best performance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no. So because again, it's like been relearning honestly a lot of like just because at least for me, like I was like I guess as a kid a fairly actually shy and quiet kid to be honest. Like I didn't
Really.
talk much. Yeah, so as I got older, like I got more. I basically practiced like social stuff and like got better at it.
Yeah.
Because like my whole family, like I guess like my mom's relatively social, but my sister and my dad are both like very very quiet, shy people. So I kind of like was also that when I was younger. Especially since I transferred schools, I think that was probably
Oh,
part of it because
really?
like all the other kids had all grown up together like from kindergarten through it was like fifth grade or whatever. So
Yeah.
then I was like and again it's like it's like when kids are like very clicky and like stuff like that because it's middle school and everyone's like
Yeah.
again it's just what it is. Like again, everyone's little kids, so it's like whatever. But yeah, so I was like definitely like somewhat shy about it. Just like learned how to like actually hold a conversation a little bit and just like after you get like fucking stared down enough, like you start to like not give a fuck about like rejection or anything. Because again, I think that's another like thing when people are always like, "Oh man, how do you start a conversation with random people?" I'm like, you know what? You just have to like bite the bullet sometimes if you want to just start up a random conversation with random people. Like
Yeah, you just have to talk about like anything.
exactly,
Literally
yeah.
anything. It could
And
be.
if
Sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was like, and if the person wants to have a conversation with you, they'll like make it work. To be honest, if they're willing to talk, like
They'll make it
yeah,
work. Yeah.
exactly. Like I found that like yeah, or like you can also just like I feel like it also just spices up your life because it's like we're like, oh man, I'm so bored. I'm like, I never like I would say like I'm confused or I'm exhausted or like many things, but very rarely am I ever bored because it's like I'll just have some random guy like come up to me on like the Amtrak and be like, this like not even just the CTA, the Amtrak, and he's like, I got $3,000 worth of clothes in my backpack. I need you to help me out. And I'm like, what the hell? You know, like
slow down, back
yeah,
it up. Not one,
exactly.
but two steps.
Yeah, exactly. So
Wait,
yeah,
so
that's-
did you move from
yes,
at the end of elementary school? So like 6th grade or 5th grade?
5th grade. Yeah. So basically, I did like kindergarten through 4th grade at a private Catholic school.
Okay.
Then I moved to public school
Oh,
after that,
really?
basically. Yes.
Was same
Uh-huh.
like area or like?
Yeah, or same rough area. To get into the lore, I used to be
Matt lore.
out, yes, out in Hazlitt, which and like rural Hazlitt, it's not even like the central area.
Okay.
So yes, because my family had like a couple acres of like land and stuff. So yeah, it was like a rural home.
Oh, okay.
And then yeah, and so like because again, the rural schools are absolutely horrible. Like that's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
So they wanted me to have a decent education, so I went to a private school at that point. Then when we moved as a family to the suburbs, that suburb had a better school, so they were willing to just enroll me in public school. And my sister, in the upper years at the private school, had also had a bad experience, so my parents wanted to swap me over to the public school before I kind of reached some of the kind of more asshole teachers
Yeah.
at the Catholic private school, because you had some of the old nun holdover kind of vibe,
Okay. Yeah.
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 So yeah. So that was when I swapped schools, and then I was just public schools, like public high school, all that kind of stuff. Since then, again, it wasn't like horrible or anything, but yeah, it was definitely a transition.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know that many people that like switched or areas or I guess schools early on because like
Yeah.
I don't know, have I talked to you about when I like moved different
It was
schools?
California to Illinois, right? Was
Yeah,
that rough?
but
Yeah.
the thing that was rough, so at the end of elementary school,
Yeah.
I went to a middle school that was I knew no one that went to it.
Yeah.
And that was weird. And then in
Yeah.
the middle of high school, I made the move to Illinois, and then it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know anyone in Illinois, but it's actually kind of crazy. Small world. This guy from LA,
Yeah.
this girl who went to my temple in
Mm-hmm.
Illinois, they both knew each other. Went to this abroad, like they did this high school abroad thing. They met there, started dating,
Yeah.
and then like I just think it's crazy. That's a small world. But yeah, no, it's like that's what got me to develop my social skills, because it was like always meeting new people, new faces, and it was just like I'm here. But COVID definitely screwed it up for me. I'm still very like I can just walk up, talk to people, but I'm so much more anxious now. Just like being holed up in like my room for God knows how long.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Yeah, no, and then obviously going to college out of state, because there's a local university in my suburb town, so a lot of people end up going there, or just going in state in general, because there's a lot of pretty decent universities in the state of Michigan. So I ended up going out of state, because that was something I definitely wanted to experience. Was just like living on my own, because I think it's a valuable experience, honestly. But
for sure, yeah, and also not being like, I think it's different when you're further away from your family. I think like dealing with things on your own, like physically, emotionally, financially on your own, is so much more different when like right now like no one else lives in my place, right? Like doing it all by myself, it's not like I can go to like my mom's room and just like talk to her, right? Like I could call her, but that's not the same as like sitting next to her.
Exactly.
So that's definitely, I don't know, I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think it's valuable life experience, because it's good, like you said, like at least for me, I think it's nice to be in a place where it's like I can prep myself, like living on my own, but I can still go back to my parents for advice and help. Like if I fuck something up, like, oh shit, I forgot to do this thing, like, or I messed this thing up, like, hey, can you chat about this? Like, because again, it's like you don't want your first experience living without your parents like to be when they pass away eventually. Like that's not, because that's like a rough wake up call. It's like, oh wait, I was living at home, forever. Like,
I don't know how like no shade to the people who like do that or
Yeah.
haven't really gone,
Mhm.
haven't like gotten a job, whatever it is. Like no shade
Yeah.
at all. But like personally for me, like where I am right now, I can't
Mhm.
like imagine being like in my mid-20s, like 24, 25, and
Mhm.
like not figuring things out. Again, I don't. That
Mhm.
sounds bad. Like I don't want to sound like I'm shaming anyone. I'm just saying like personally for me,
Yeah.
I couldn't like fathom like it. I feel like I
Yeah.
have so much free time. Well, not really free time, but if I wasn't doing everything I was doing as far as work,
Yeah.
I would have so much free time. I just be like, what am I gonna do? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my two takes on that.
Hmm. I don't know. I think it's mixed. Like, I think it definitely like. I think it's also one. It's kind of a Western thing where it's like you want to like move away from your parents like as soon as possible. I think like whereas I think other places people like want to stay with their parents and or like feel obligated to help their parents, and that's another one. It's like I completely get people who are helping their parents, like
Yeah.
you know, um. But you have mixed feelings. Like there was a point where I was like, oh, like I wanted to get away from home, but now I've done it. I feel like I understand the things that like actually bothered me essentially. Like I actually know where the boundary lines were that I was like getting annoyed with my parents with.
Yeah.
And actually like now I could have like a much more productive conversation. And I have like when I've gone back home, I've been able to like articulate and figure out the things that were actually like annoying me when I was living at home. So it's like I feel like I could live back home if I needed to
Yeah.
in a much more productive way where I wasn't like losing my mind, because that was what it initially felt like, was like I felt like it was like there's not a lot of freedom and stuff like that.
Well, because there's only so much you can say. I mean, I
Yeah.
noticed it with my mom. It was like once I left,
Yeah.
like especially after like when I came back over winter break this past year,
Yeah.
there's like a sense of like an underlying level of respect between my
Yeah.
mom and I.
Yeah.
Just because she's like, I'm on my own, I'm paying for things on my own, I'm doing all
Yeah.
this, I'm helping her out, and it's
Yeah.
like that wasn't there like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a weird dynamic change once you
Yeah.
leave the house.
Yeah. It is for sure. No, I would agree. And I think a lot of my friends who had like similar experiences have definitely agreed with that.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I think it's like kind of a circle thing. It's like eventually, you help out your parents, obviously, like when they're not able to help themselves, like kind of like an older age, depending on what circumstances allow for. But I don't know. My family is always very chaotic, so it always has a great number of things happening. So
Yeah.
never
I
a
get
dull
that
moment.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's, for me, it's like, as far as like helping family, it's like, I don't know how to put this one. I feel like it's not like you should feel like you owe them something.
Yeah.
But it's like, I look at it with my family, it's like, my mom and brother have done so much for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't just
Yeah.
not do anything, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it also feels different between like friends and families, since for family, it doesn't, like all the time I'm helping out, it doesn't feel like I'm forced to do it. Or like
Yeah.
if it doesn't feel like a chore, like it's always something, like when my mom or brother say they need help or whatever it may be, I'm like, yeah, like no problem. But sometimes with like friends, it's like, yeah, man, I got COVID.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I also think it depends on the type of friends, like, and what the circumstances are, because like I've had friends where it's like, you're very, very close to them and, you have that like mutual respect. And so it's like, you'd go, at least for me, I'd go a lot farther than other friends where I'm like, more cordial, it's like, I don't know you all that well, I would say. And on that topic, like, I think it's been, for at least for myself, it's been like interesting because like in other parts of my life, I've had like some friends who are like, I'm extremely, extremely close to. But then there's also periods of life where like, you definitely like at least drift away from those like mega close friends. At least that's like kind of in my experience. I haven't had like, I know some people have like that one best friend like for their entire life or whatever it feels like. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there's different like ways that people, I guess like, how do I put it? How people put quote unquote like growing up. I was actually talking to one of my friends about this. It's like, we weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye with it, but it's like, I think as people get older, they kind of figure out what they find is important and meaningful
Yeah.
for in their life. Because at the end of the day, like on a bigger scale, like me being here isn't that like crazy impactful to the world, but like I'm gonna try and make meaning for myself and for the people
Yeah.
around me. And so it's like as people grow up, I guess finding the things that they want to make time for and what makes them
Mhm.
happy or successful, whatever that meaning may be, I
Mhm.
guess it's like a goal in a way. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting like seeing how some people, they have like one best friend or they have like
Yeah.
a couple solid groups of friends,
Mhm.
and the ways they like interact with one another and the community they're in. It's I don't know. It's interesting seeing like when people look at these things in different ways.
Yeah, and you do feel like those, like, kind of which of those paths you take is kind of a sign of like maturity or what you value, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't want to place a label on like what maturity is necessarily,
Yeah.
but there's like a sense of emotional maturity in the way that you look at things, and it's like it's weird for me because I don't want to sound like Jaden Smith. I don't know if you saw that clip of Jaden Smith
No, I
about
don't think so.
basically. I'm not gonna take too much of a tangent, but he was like, I would when I was younger, I'd be around people older, and when kids would be playing with toys, I would be worried about like the political, economical state of the world or something, and everyone's just clowning him. But
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound like that. But like, I definitely agree that I gravitate towards people older than me. Like, I still hang out with people my age and people younger than me.
Yeah.
But I just like, I feel that I can relate to older people solely because it's like there are things some of my friends like my age I can
Yeah.
explain to them, but they won't truly understand till like
Yeah.
they're fully on their own or like they're
Yeah.
dealing with money issues on their own, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I think like it speaks to part of your maturity, but it also, I guess, your own experiences because everyone's gonna kind of go through their own thing, or I guess their own
Mhm.
life, and some
Yeah.
people may experience A, B, and C, while others experience D, E, and F.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I think partly it partly speaks to a maturity.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think those maturity conversations are definitely like you said, it's like you don't want to like, oh man, I'm so much more mature than everyone else. But I think it definitely like when you have certain life experiences, it's just kind of like a real talk. Like, okay, you've seen certain things that just other people haven't experienced, and it's like, and it's one of those things that for me, it's like it's like you don't want to see people ever go through like more hardship than they have to, but it's like one, hardship's a part of reality, so it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen, and two, like hardship does in some ways make you mature because it's like you have to kind of deal with it on some level, like
Yeah.
because again, it's like the hardship is like a lot of times will continue to persist until it's dealt with, so it's like you got to find some form of solution to it.
Right. Yeah. And I guess like as far as finding a solution to it, it's like, how do I put this? I think everyone's hardships are going to be different. Like the hardships
Yeah.
I deal with aren't necessarily the hardships you deal with,
Yeah.
and so it's how people learn from it. I think is the most
Yeah.
important thing. And if they're not
Mhm.
learning from it, then I don't know what to say. Like you're a lost cause. Just kidding. You're not a lost cause, but you are.
Mhm.
And it's like learning, I don't know, this is such like a hard one to answer since there's so many
Mhm.
what ifs, and you already know my mind is like running at 3 million miles per hour.
Yeah.
So I guess it all kind of depends on what each person values and
Mhm.
what they take from the experiences they have.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know if we did to get into the petty grievances bag about people for like, I think we do this every single episode.
Yeah.
It's straight up, we're like fucking young Zoomers, bro, even though we're literally Gen Z. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't know if we have to retread this road. That'll be like the reoccurring bit on this podcast. It'll be like, let's shit on gamers and how immature they are.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
we're
Let's talk about totally how Jeremy doesn't get mad and start fuming on Rocket League. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a interesting like thing of maturity. At least that was something for me that I found like for me is like a big sign of maturity is people having like control over their emotions, because I don't know, I've just dealt with people in my life that like they would just start yelling at me, and I've just learned like the second people yell at me, like I just tune that out, to be honest. Like every time I have a coach or like a coworker, a person like just yell at me, I just like immediately tune it out, because it's like, okay, it like you know, it's like kind of one of those like your emotions are just like you have no control, like especially if someone like frequently is a yeller, where it's like if it's a very like one-off thing, then like I will guess we'll give it somewhat more value. But like, and also like I don't know, like, also for me it's like kind of like, can I see why this person's so mad, and some, you know, like because again it's like emotions are obviously like by definition irrational, and it's like not all of life, because it's like emotions are just as real as your rational thoughts, but it's like if you're constantly dictated by purely emotions, because I've met people that like are like that, it just gets like really exhausting to deal with them, because it's like you don't know what like governs them, because it's all like kind of random by
You
their
don't
moods.
know what's next with people
Yeah.
like that. I also, it's like, I think for me personally, it's weird because it's like I'll have some of the like worst things, not the worst, it could always be
Yeah.
worse, but some pretty bad things happen. I'll be
Yeah.
composed, you know, like I'm trying to. I'm not gonna give an example, but like I've had like things happen.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
it's really bad, but then I'm
Yeah.
playing games. I'm playing video
Yeah.
games.
yeah,
Man, you don't want to be like 30 feet around me just bah bah. It's so weird. I don't get it. I'm a weird guy. But I definitely agree. I don't understand. I'm no psychologist. I'm no doctor.
yeah,
But I don't get people who like in work especially. I've had a lot of people I deal with where their first instinct is like to just use emotion in like everything they do, and I'm like, no. No, I'm not dealing with this right now. No. It just doesn't, being like irrational. I mean, like I'm sure you've had this with like family. I don't know if I'm sure, but like if you've had it with family, I know I have. It's like the second people get emotional, it's just like, man, how do I put this? It like forces
What's the
you,
steak?
huh?
I was just, I gotta sit down for this take.
Yeah. Like personally for me, I've had like, man, how do I describe it? I don't know. It's like, let's say like when I used to get in like arguments with family, it's like instantly turned into like yelling or whatever, and even when you say like, let's just have a civil conversation, it's like when you go straight to, okay, here we go. When you go straight to emotions, it just kind of like makes the other person kind of block out what you're doing, like you're saying, like with the yelling.
Yeah.
And like when you're at the point where you're so emotional that you're taking it out with the conversation, you will only want to hear what you want to hear, no matter what you say. That you will take in the other party's side. You won't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I was going with that. It took me a while. It took me a little bit. It's a Friday. I was just like, how do I word? I just didn't know how to word that.
No, I don't think that's like kind of a lot of what it boils down. Because like for me, it's like, you know, emotions need to be felt and like expressed. But it's like, when you're like, again, there's I think times where it's like healthy to like express emotions, and times where it's not. And like you said, when you're just like dumping all, like venting all your emotions on this other person, like and especially like framed in a really negative way, like an argument is, like that's a really like, that's like an actual conflict. Because if someone's just yelling because they're angry or frustrated, but they're more like, it's more directionalist versus like very pointed at one person. Obviously, that's kind of two different things, I would say.
Yeah.
Because especially, you know, arguments are never ideal, but they're just a fact of human existence. So it's like, ideally you're having like this civil debate, but those are like difficult to have, you know, I think that's like something I've like had to learn a lot, because critical thinking is something very difficult to teach, because it's like, you know, you're trying to, I don't even know how you describe teaching it, because it's like a lot of stuff you don't like, you have the classic rote memorization, like, oh, you just like memorize these things, or like it's a practical skill where it's like, oh, you just do the thing and eventually you kind of like start to understand it. But like critical thinking is something that's like, again, you can't just it's very hard to even give a metaphor because it's like,
Yeah.
or give any sort of repetitive task that'll like be educational. Because it's like if you're doing a sport or like a physical task like painting, if you paint enough stuff, you start again. It's not as quick as like studying shading and painting, like reading a painting book, but it's like if you paint enough objects, you'll start to like understand basic techniques because you'll just be like, ah, this makes sense because I've repeated it enough times. You get better at it. But it's like, okay, I tell you how improve your critical thinking. Go practice it right now. Like, you know, no one exactly, you know, like unless you get into some very like esoteric mind training shit, which I've done, but like that's a sidebar. But like unless you're kind of going down that route, like you're not gonna have very productive like training sessions. You have to kind of like attack it from like a very roundabout way, which is I think a lot of times how you teach really like big ideas or like very foundational subjects sometimes is you kind of have to, and I've like learned this throughout a lot of stuff I've in my life, is like sometimes you have to kind of like almost frame it. It's like you want to actually teach this core concept, but you can't, it's almost you can't define it using the word itself. So you have to like box it in. It's not any of these things, and you slowly be able to like get all the different pillars, and eventually the image coalesces of what you're actually trying to get at.
And those things, it's interesting because that doesn't happen in like schools.
Yeah.
There, like it happens. Those are all just like real life situations, and
Yeah.
I guess like in relationships with people, whether family, friends, significant other, it's just kind of like you just kind of go through it because there are times I don't like with people, and it's like this one thing that's going on. I don't know how to explain it, but like these 20 other things kind of like like are things that like you shouldn't do, and it kind of adds up to like this big idea, big pyramid. Those are my favorite things to learn because like I like being given a challenge, and a lot of times those types of lessons, like you have an aha moment. Like you won't get it in like a day, maybe a week. There have been things where like years after I've been told something, it like pops up in my head. I'm like,
yeah, exactly. It's like accumulation of a lot of knowledge that finally like the last piece clicks in, and then like the whole concept is understood.
So those are interesting to say the least. They are interesting.
100%. Yeah, no. And again, for me, it's like one of those. I think for a lot of times it's like those aphorisms that people will tell you. That's like, you know, like say be comfortable in your own skin. Like that's a classic like piece of advice that people give.
Yeah.
And it's like when you truly understand what being comfortable in your own skin is, like you are comfortable in your own skin, if that makes any sense. Whereas like if you just tell someone be comfortable in your own skin, it's just something you can't understand just from those words alone. But once you are at that point in your life, that sentence makes sense, and then it's like, which is really backwards, you know.
No, it's like backwards in a good way.
Yeah.
Like even like on that subject, like even I don't know what it means to be comfortable in my own skin. You know, it's like I feel like 20 years down the road, when I have like kids or whatever, it'll be like I'll fully, or at least I hope I can understand it. But it's just like I have like the ideas of what it means, but I won't fully have a grasp on it until who knows when that aha moment just like will happen.
Exactly. Oh no, I completely get that. Like those things are very like tricky to nail down, and even like various other stuff. Like again, sometimes I've had teachers that have told me something, and then like years down the line, I'll be like, oh shit, that's what they meant by that. Essentially, you know.
Yeah.
It's like really frustrating. That came like way later than you'd hope for, and it's like that's the thing for me is like when I do in my life when I'm trying to tutor or coach or teach people is like the best way I try to do is like teach the things that point you in that direction as best I can. That's like been my biggest thing, and I think it's provided the most success in any sort of teaching aspiration has been like, okay, these are the things that'll hopefully help you achieve this thing. And it's like very difficult, I think, to tailor that as well, because obviously it was a very specific set of circumstances that gave one person that understanding. And so it's going to be a very different set of circumstances that gives someone else that understanding. But it's like you're just obviously trying to use your own experiences to guide someone else. That's the epitome of teaching.
Yeah, and I guess like I don't feel enough at least the teachers who don't care that much, I don't know,
Yeah.
don't really, I guess, utilize that, because even when I was growing up, there are a lot of teachers that, like, I'm very much a person where I don't know how much this will speak of my character, but I like, I kiss a lot of ass,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, sorry, I don't know if anyone can hear that, but there are police going by or ambulance.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of like I've learned that like acting in that way, especially in like classes, it's like
Hmm.
it'll help get a different side of like teachers that you may not see. But it
Yeah.
also like I've learned that you acting in a way that like appeases people just like makes them, or at least the teachers, makes them
Hmm.
like you get to see their true colors in a way, both in a good and bad way. And at least
Yeah.
with the bad way, it's like there's a lot of teachers who like they won't really use experiences. It's just like I've noticed it a lot, at least with like async professors at DePaul.
Okay.
It's like they just kind of give you the content and are just kind of like, here you go, here's a grade, here's some course
Yeah.
credit, right? But then,
Yeah.
there's other professors who are in person who truly want to see people, do well. And then when
Yeah.
you get on their good side, because, you may be nice, you may do what I do, you may do a little bit combination of both, but it allows you to, like, I wouldn't say take advantage is the right word, but, like,
Yeah.
take advantage of the, I guess, resources that are there, because, so for me personally, I would much rather hear like someone's story and like ask someone like what they've gone through and just
Yeah.
kind of like see what those experiences are, rather than like learning through a stat course.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, if that speaks to who I am as a person in both a good and bad way, so be it. But that's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think hearing people's stories is really interesting because I think you also like gain a lot of perspective to the more like hard to pin down things. But obviously, I don't think it applies to technical knowledge because there is some things that are kind of mechanical, where it's like, at least in my discipline with programs and stuff, it's like, okay, you kind of do have to like know how to type this line of code, It's like there's no two, like, and again, there can be artistry in how you construct certain programs when you're doing anything beyond just a like exact function, you start getting something much more interesting. And that's my biggest thing for myself, as like my goal is to always get like enough technical literacy that it becomes about the artistry, essentially, where you're like, you're not, because I think that's the biggest thing is like I made this metaphor. I'm gonna lower my fucking standing desk, but I made this metaphor before, but it's essentially being a poet in another language. It's like you have to learn the language first before you can attempt to write poetry in it, or do any artistry. So it's like that's been my like current goal has been like more technical. Like you never get to fully master technical, but like get the like foundations so where it's very natural to do stuff, and then the new techniques I'm learning is more an extension rather than like when I'm thinking of any concept, I'm not like, oh shit, how am I going to do this? So that's like the point where I want to reach. And that's why I think also I've been trying to do a little bit more work just hobby-wise and like learning a bit more like how to draw and just like other like more traditional mediums like that, because I think just having that like mind to expression connection be like more fluid, I think is like, I don't know, very human and very fundamental.
When are you gonna draw me?
Probably never, or not in the very.
Wow,
Yeah.
I see how it is. No, that's a good point though. I mean, like, I feel that applies to like any field.
Yeah.
It's like computer science has literally its own language.
Yeah.
I'm sure game design also has its
Yeah.
own language, whether you're using Maya. I don't know
Mhm.
what other programs, but I know you use Maya. Law obviously has it.
Yeah.
It's just like.
Mhm.
You can have a base understanding, but then expanding into different like subgenres and fields is so important.
Yeah, and I think that's like actually on a topic of like just variety of careers. I think that's like one thing though with expression. Like, I feel like that's kind of like one of the things that I don't know. This is like just an armchair theory of mine that has been kind of damaging to people's psyche, is like where they're not able to experience the output of their work. or not a lot, not as many people as you would hope are able to see an expression of their work necessarily. Because like I feel like if someone's like they're in some super weird pencil pusher white collar job, like they're like some consultant, assistant to the manager type person, like you don't really like have any like finished product that's necessarily yours, or it's like not going to feel as satisfying an achievement, I would feel like. Whereas I think in a certain subset of careers, you actually get a very visceral like response, essentially, of feedback.
Well, people just kind of settle. I mean, like,
Yeah.
a side note, as far as like people settling, like people specifically with like insurance companies, especially doctors who work with insurance companies, like ones that are just trying to be like, oh, you're hurt, or oh, you're okay, and then send you on your way. Like, you're not like those type of people. Like, you're not helping anyone, to be honest. But two, it's like, what you don't have to make an impact. Everyone's meaning of life is different, but it's like, what are you doing? Know, I no shame. Money is money, but shame at the same time.
Yeah, well, I think it's not even from like a broader like my perspective of them, but I think it can be almost their own perspective of themselves. Like if they're not expressing themselves in their hobbies or like I guess their friends and stuff like that. Like, not to say that every moment of your life has to be like in pursuit of some grand scheme, but I think it's like if you don't have any sort of regular effort into that vein, I think that in like just your own opinion of yourself can be like, at least that's something with what I've noticed with myself. If I'm not doing the things like that I feel are like of value, like, because again, it's like you can do stuff that I feel is like lower value on the totem pole, but as long as I do like, again, actually do things that I consider of value, like if there's no balance there, it's very damaging to myself, at least.
Right. No, that is fair. It's like, how do I'm having one of those days where it's like I know what I want to say, but like putting it together. It's like it's like each is their own, right? And everyone's gonna have their like own goals as far as like what they want to do. So it's like what you may see is like damaging to yourself or like people around. It's like not everyone will see that, but it's like unfortunate that it's that way, And it doesn't mean that every single person needs to be like, oh, you need to be a child of God and helping every single person you come by. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not really doing anything at all, it's like, what, like, all right.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like people would get bored because it's, if you're going into a career where you're spending 40 years of your life, 30, 40 years, whatever average, like, work life once you're out of college. But, like, let's just say, like, 40 years and you're just kind of doing nothing. It's like, well, I don't know. Obviously, everyone's going to be different. And a lot of people may not want to help other people because people suck. I love people, but people suck. It's just a weird, like, loophole. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like I said, you know me, I'm thinking in 30 million directions.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I think, very natural just to kind of like have multiple simultaneous, like, oh, I love people, but people also suck, I think, are two very frequent thoughts that basically probably everyone has. So would you say like that people who are like, you just, you don't understand apathy is like what you're trying to say? Like people who are kind of just like, I don't really care what happens. Is that something that's like very alien to you?
I don't know, because I think in a sense I have some apathy. Oh, bye Matt camera. Oh, there, it's back. I think in a way I definitely understand apathy, since I feel like there's some points where I have apathy, but it's just like a balance of apathy and empathy, because I feel, with the experiences you have, if you're feeling like no emotion towards like one way, to me that's just like, that doesn't feel natural. And you don't always have to be goody two shoes. You don't always, this, hopefully not, but you don't always have to be like a terrible person. I think like having moments where you may be a good person, having moments where you're a bad person, having moments where you're neutral is important, because I feel it's impossible to be just specifically, I'm trying to think, like, I can't even think of an example of someone who's like always doing good no matter what. But then it's also, I feel just as hard to be someone um like Ted Bundy. I was trying to think of like a really bad person. Like having those extremes, it's kind of like it's hard because if
Mhm.
you have morals, or if you've been taught something in your life, you just can't be perfect. And I don't want to
Yeah.
say someone like Ted Bundy is perfect, but you know what I mean, like always being like a terrible person.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to stick on like one route.
Yeah. Um. Oh man, there's a lot of different offshoots to that. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
no, I
lot.
would say like, firstly, I would agree. I think it's like one of those things that's just like, I heard this like expression that's like, if you're not hated by someone, you might be living wrong, which kind of sounds terrible to say, but it's like,
No, that is
I
so
think
true. That I have my
like,
enemies, and I'm glad.
well, because I think it's impossible to please. Like, you're always gonna have people that hate you, especially like the more, like, say the more good you do. Like, let's say you're a very successful music artist, like you're gonna have people that hate your music, like.
Yeah.
And success isn't obviously equated to necessarily like goodness or art or whatever, how you're going to frame it, but it's like there will always be people that like see success and want to like tear it down, or just anything, like, or there'll be more people who know of your existence, so you will have more people to hate you regardless. Or if you have any principles, like you're not just two-faced and constantly swapping your personality to the newest person you meet, and always just like being a yes person,
Yeah.
or yes man, as the saying goes. Like a bootlicker, like you will have, like, not always, again, they don't have to be blood sworn enemies that they and their sons and their sons of sons will all hunt you down, and like you'll fight over a volcano, as like, I don't know, fucking heavy metal music starts playing like that,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the lives that everyone's having. But yeah, I think having some sort of principles or things you live by or things you value, like those are gonna be of disagreements with people, and it's like about trying to fill your life with positive things from the people that you do agree with, of course. But I think also like on your like wholly good and wholly evil route, I think that's something also I've realized that like one, like perfect characters are like very boring. This is something I've learned like
Yeah.
in writing or in fiction and film and anything. Like perfect characters are very, very boring. And so it's like you need to have flawed characters, and their flaws can make them very interesting, and you want their flaws to be like put into perfect detail, because a lot of times like I've struggled, because it's like for me, I don't like the flaws, I don't like my imperfections of self, but it's like I have to like understand that I am a flawed person, and I have to like live with that.
No, you're perfect in my eyes. You're
Well,
perfect.
thank you.
Of course. Also, Matt, if you could hold that thought, I need to call in for duty. Because I want to keep talking about this if you have time, but I'm gonna get yelled at if I don't call in for duty.
Go do that.
So this is the Matt hour now, unexpected Matt hour. I will be.
Yeah.
Watch, you could count it. Put a timer for 180 seconds. Check this out.
All right, I'll put a timer on to see if Jeremy is correct in his prediction. Timer 3 minutes starting. Well, just to talk solo, like I think in perfect characters, that's like I saw an interesting video essay about this. It was like how to write Superman functionally, and I think that's the dilemma with like why Superman might not be as a popular of a character as he is now, because he's kind of escalated in power more and more over time, and you've kind of ended up with this like god essentially that's impossible to defeat. And there's only a couple ways to kind of the classical ways of writing that, where it's like the first off is you have your kind of not Lex Luthor, but kind of the behemoth, or I forget the exact the phrase of the villain, but the one who is of equal strength to Superman, but that runs into a kind of an escalation problem, where if Superman fights his equal and a monster, well, to top it for the sequel, you're gonna have to have Superman be even more powerful, fighting an even more powerful villain. And I think that's kind of what Dragon Ball Z is, that kind of trap that and a lot of the shonen anime or manga run into, is that you constantly have this. It's like, all right, this villain's powerful enough to wipe out a whole building, and our hero is going to stop them. And then it's this villain's powerful enough to wipe out a whole town, and our hero is going to stop them. And it's the whole country, and it's the whole planet, and it's the whole universe, and it's the multiverse, and but those escalations of stakes don't necessarily get more interesting because, as a human, you can't really comprehend that scale emotionally. In a story, it just becomes kind of a spectacle, just like kind of eye candy more than anything else. And then the second one is kind of having a story where the unlimited power isn't enough to solve the issue. Like it's some kind of emotional conflict, or let's say it's like a hostage situation or some other thing where that's like your unlimited power isn't enough to solve that. And I think that can very much be a very interesting way to have that's like one of the most interesting rich things. Yes, you completed it in under 3 minutes.
Let's go. What was it at?
40 seconds remaining, or 41 seconds
I am
remaining.
so good at life.
Yes, you are.
No, I wanted to follow up with the whole man, I'm out of breath. Hating or people having enemies. Let me just say, man, I have so many enemies, so many people that like prey on my downfall. I feel like like, let me tell you, being an RA, there's so many people that like don't like me. It's so funny because like, man, do I love writing people up? Let me tell you, these little
you just write up mad people?
No, it's just more so like the one thing that was really funny, like not funny, but over like when masks were still required on campus, the amount of people. Where's a mask? I'd have to go to my closet to get one.
Yeah.
But that would wear it like just under their chin or like this. I'm like,
yeah.
Just don't. At that point, don't wear one. Just don't wear one.
Yeah.
But like, instantly, I'm like, hey, what's your ID? Can I see that real quick?
Yeah.
Or like the people, man, lately, these idiots keep me up to like 3 a.m. because they take the doors. Like, sorry, they're like, bah with the doors. But yeah. So those people definitely rooting for my downfall. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's perfectly normal. Like if you are liked by every single person, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. That's just not possible. You're paying someone. You're paying people at that point to like you.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be people mad at you for paying people to like you. So.
True. Yeah. No, I think. Yeah, on the topic of the chin mask thing, unless you're like in some transitional moment, it feels really dumb because it's like just stick. Like for me, it's like okay, I understand the appearances are a thing to some degree, but it's like that's a very like half-assed way to if you're like, let's say, wearing a mask only for appearances. It's like, but you're immediately taking it off. So like either commit to like you're gonna wear a mask, or you're not gonna wear the mask. It's like. Pick one or the other, not like, oh, I'm just gonna like wear one on my neck, and if someone yells at me, then I'll pull it up. It's like you could do the same, it's just a mask in your pocket, and then you put it on, and you'll look less of a dumbass. Like I don't know, it seems kind of same difference.
It was like sagging.
Yeah.
I don't really see it that often anymore. It was mainly like high school, like middle school and high school.
Yeah.
But I've never understood sagging because it's like, is not comfortable.
Yeah.
It just isn't comfortable.
Yeah.
And two, I'm just like, it's just, you kind of like, bruh. It's like, bruh.
Yeah. I think it's like a whole culture thing. But I think like a lot of people that were outside that culture started doing it. And it's like, this is not who you are. Like, you can stop fronting,
Yeah. I think I should have probably mentioned that as well because it's like, it's really weird when I like, especially being like, in like richer areas of LA, like seeing that, like just like specific people who just are like, they're like not a part of the culture as well. It's just kind of like, but obviously the sagging is different from the mask. But yeah, also I found a mask. Yeah, this is probably kind of gross, but because I don't know why it's on my desk. But basically, like the people as well who would like just have it like this for some reason. They just have it dangling like. What is the point of it, man? That would really grind my gears when people would do that because it's like they think they'd be sneaky, or like they would hear me talking to people, and as I go by, I see them just like put it up, and I'm just like, you guys aren't sneaky.
Yeah.
I see you. The cameras, they see you.
Yeah.
Or the people, my favorite, these people really didn't like me, was when people be a smartass to me when I'm mad at them.
Yeah.
Nah, they're on site. But they would be like, I remember this one guy, I would always write him up because he would like say, he was like, oh, he would go to the water fountain and I'd be like, hey man, where's your mask? It's like, well, I usually wear it. Like, you could check the cameras. I usually do. I'm like, well, are you wearing it right now? He's like, no, but I usually do. I'm like, that's the point. You're not wearing it right now. That's my rant. But yeah, those people, though, they definitely don't like me. That's okay. I get paid to make them not. I don't get paid to make them not like me. But in that case, they don't have to like me.
Yeah, you get paid to enforce rules, so I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Rule enforcing, that's an interesting topic, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
Who creates
Are you,
rules?
well, and also, like the whole responsibility of the rule creators versus rule enforcers too. That's like an interesting debate. That's like a classical like debate. There was an interesting excerpt from I think it was Plato's The Republic when I was reading that a couple months ago. But that was that like people who desire to be guards like have an interesting mentality, and it's like the only thing essentially is like that you can like determine who's like a rule breaker is by like the unknowns, essentially, like because it's like how do you determine like what's unsafe, and that's very difficult, so you kind of like just like that's your dividing line is what's unknown versus known.
Well, we actually, it's interesting. I took I guess all the crim classes I've taken kind of go over that idea of like who creates the laws and like what makes deterrence, and it's like there's like, I guess with rules there's like a underlying level of like morals that people have, and because at the end of the day, I mean, if people saw in the world that like trigger warning, if people saw in the world that like said murder was okay and like that was just generally accepted, like something in the Purge. I think the Purge is the best example. Like, let's say looting, murder, whatever it may be, if like people as a society said it was okay and people who weren't okay with it were like lawbreakers, I mean, like that would, they're technically in that like mind space, there wouldn't be anything wrong. So it's like the people who set the morals, there's like a societal standard like what we have right now. Murder is not okay for obvious reasons, but then it's the people who like push those boundaries, and then they're like, oh wait, this is actually wrong. So I mean, you're seeing that a lot with like IP, especially on like internet and things online. There's always new things being introduced because it's like an uncharted territory.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of interesting like spin-off points. I think for myself, like an interesting conversation to have a lot of people like when they're like, "Oh, X is illegal," and I'm like, "Is your intrinsic morality completely based on laws?" And it's like, and then they'll like, I've the couple people I've told that to, they've like gotten taken aback because I think,
really,
well, yeah, like I especially it's usually younger people who are like, "Oh shit," I didn't think about it that way necessarily, because it's like, yeah, the law should not necessarily inform your decisions, in my opinion. Like, it just so happens that if you're living in a country where hopefully your laws make a decent amount of sense, you can be a law-abiding citizen most of the time. But it's like, if you encounter a law that doesn't make sense to you, like morally, if you actually, I mean, understandably, there's obviously going to be consequences for what you believe. But if that's like an actual true principle that you like mega believe in, it's like actually the logical moral conclusion for you to break that law. Like that's, I think, something that a lot of people like, and myself, I think, struggle with, because it is because again, a lot of times like you live in the society, so therefore there's a lot of consequences if you break laws, and there's like basically obviously there's like, I don't know, unless you live in some very, very remote places in the world, like you're always going to be very much dealing with laws on a very regular basis.
Well, I think that's when the idea of like reform comes in. I don't want to get like too political or like too in depth, because we see it especially like right now, but it's like I think like when people step out of line, that's when like laws will change or rules will
Yeah.
change. But then there's a certain sense of like understanding the human morale and I guess like societal standards where reform like plays a role, which is
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if dynamic is the right word, but I guess like
Hmm.
balance between the two. Yeah, I think balance is a better word than dynamic. Um, so I don't know. It's interesting seeing how societies just kind of like balance the two and are able to make things work.
Like the balance between like what's written in law versus like the generalist like moral perspective, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I'm not gonna get into specifics, but I
Yeah.
mean like what's literally happening right like today, like
Yeah.
I think is the perfect example of how, or even back in 2020,
Yeah.
well, with George Floyd and all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
like all the time, there may be certain rules, or there are even like the unwritten rules in which certain higher figures are able to follow,
Yeah.
but like then there's that general consensus that can sway things or make maybe I don't think not exceptions, but maybe specific changes if something isn't working. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like the balance that I kind of see with it.
Yeah, because I think there's like almost the thing where it's like there's certain things that like I would like vehemently deny, but like also you can't make a law that makes any sort of sense around the thing, if that makes sense as well. You know, where
Yeah,
it's like you can't control that thing with a law. You just have to change individual people's minds, and that's a surprisingly difficult thing to do. Like we kind
yeah,
of circling back to maturity and discussions you're having. Because again, it's like on some level you don't want to be like authoritarian where it's like my morals are like the best morals, so like I'm gonna be a dictator and like everyone's gonna be a citizen of Matt Nation and all have to follow my exact
yeah.
like
I think
because
you're onto
then
something.
exactly. No, that was actually uh, my friends asked me like like do you think you could run a cult, and I was like, yeah, I think I could run a cult. Like, could you, Jeremy, do you
Really?
think you could create a cult around yourself?
Man, I'm not that narcissistic, but I don't know. I've never been asked that.
Yeah, it's a good party topic,
That's
honestly.
a yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like cults are so hard to run. I mean, like, oh man, what's that one? It was in LA, or I think LA, where like the people basically all got together and at the very end, like they drank this like punch or whatever that basically like caused them to all die. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh man, it's a really like trippy story. Like
Okay.
but it's like getting people to like at any point just listen to me and follow me. I just don't even know what you would have to do to like one, find people that are
Yeah.
like that. Two, not get the attention of like social media or like the
Yeah.
authorities, especially. I personally, I don't think I could. I really don't understand how people are able to do it. It's very like
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's intriguing to me, but it's very like I have no clue how people do it. How about you? You think you could do it?
I think I could do it.
All right. Well, we'll try it out. Let's see if we could do some of the esports. See what
Yeah.
happens. That's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to ask some of my friends about that. I
Yeah.
want to know their responses to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Uh, it's just one of those topics that yeah makes for interesting conversation at times. But
Yeah, no, that's just like I don't think I've ever been asked if what's it called? If I could run a cult. That's I don't know. There's a lot of things that I've never thought of that like could I do that like taming not taming wrestling a bear. It's like, I don't think about could I wrestle a bear because I know I can't wrestle a bear.
yeah.
I think you could wrestle a bear though.
No, I could not wrestle a
Nah,
bear.
you got the height, you got the
I mean,
guns.
I mean, depends on the bear and how old the bear is too. That's
Like
another
a
thing. It's like
20-year-old grizzly.
a grizzly, fuck no. Like any grizzly would dunk on me. I mean, grizzlies are like, from when I remember, like by far the nastiest of bears. Like,
I thought polar bears were the worst.
I mean, okay, but like less chance of encountering them.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find a polar bear in Yosemite,
Wait,
huh?
grizzly bear's top speed is 35 miles per hour.
Wow, yeah, you're not getting away from that guy. You're done.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah, 600 pounds,
You could take it.
3'3" at shoulder. Jesus, man.
There was one time, when I was 14, I was walking my dog Scooby, and I remember in our neighborhood, he was like not want my. So my mom was really angry that night. So like,
Yeah.
I was just trying to get out of the house. We were on a long walk, and one of the ways we were
Mhm.
going in my neighborhood, my dog Scooby just kept not wanting to go. He just kept stopping, and I kept being like come on Scooby, come on. And he'd like, I don't know, something was up. And I should have listened to him, cause like I almost like high key I almost died that night, cause so I like go around the corner and I see this like figure kind of like coming up, and like I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, oh great, this is a coyote. Like I
Yeah.
think I'll be fine against a coyote.
Yeah.
Nah, some like I don't know if it was for sure a mastiff, but it was a pit bull or some
Yeah.
sort of pit breed. Like
Yeah.
but have you seen a mastiff in person?
Yeah, like a bull mastiff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is a big guy. He or she, huge dog. And
Yeah.
I just see it like fully stand up next to me, and I'm thinking like, I'm gonna like, I was like a quarter mile away from home at least.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, yeah, that was scary. Could I take that dog on? No, but I started like screaming for help, and luckily these people
Yeah.
came. They didn't even drive me fully home. They're like, I was like, guys, I literally live like down the block. Will you please drive me all the way? And they're like, no, we gotta go the other way. I'm like, but yeah, sorry, that's the story. Of
Oh, yeah,
Jeremy
yeah.
almost getting mauled by a dog.
Nah, I mean, that was my aunt. She had a mastiff dog, and like that thing was like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's like,
They're huge.
yeah, like again, they're like one of the dogs that like can straight up 1v1 you low key, It's like,
Yeah, that dog could have just sat on me, and I wasn't going anywhere. Cause I was like,
yeah,
back freshman year of high school.
yeah.
You're not gonna believe me, but I was 65 pounds and like
Jesus.
4'8" maybe.
Yeah.
Isn't that
You're a
crazy?
Small boy. Yeah. So that dog had like it was like 3 times the size of you.
Easily
Like,
3 times the size of me. And it
Yeah.
was funny because Scooby's like trying to go at it, because he's a little like Chihuahua pug.
Yeah.
And I like pick him up, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
Scooby. Yeah. So that's
yeah, dude.
that's my
Animals
story.
are fucking can be scary, man. It's like,
I agree.
and it's like, especially with how like I think isolated everyone is from like the wild. I think like, because yeah, no, like you said, if some big ass dog like actually wants to fight you, and you're just
Whoa.
you have your phone, wallet, and keys. Like, what's your smartphone gonna do against a dog? Like,
Just a
going
little poke,
nuts on
just
you.
a little poke.
Yeah.
I wish I had pepper
Exactly.
spray, because that would have done something. Actually,
Yeah.
probably not. Yeah, pepper spray. Do you think? All right, you know what? I'm not gonna get into this conversation because Peter's gonna get all mad. But never mind. Bears.
Yeah.
Bears are
Do you think
cool.
pepper spray? Bears are cool.
Bears are
Pepper spray.
cool.
I think pepper spray would work on any like animal, honestly. Like,
I don't know. There's like, I'm now at a point where like, especially in Chicago, you don't really deal with wildlife that
Yeah.
often, or even like coyotes. Because in LA,
Yeah.
like coyotes were like at night, especially like you could run
Yeah.
into one like normally.
Yeah.
They're pretty used to humans, but like you don't see coyotes out here. And even like
Yeah.
in Peoria, I live near like a big like nature hiking area, but
Yeah.
like. I don't really like. I'll see deer. I see a lot of
Yeah.
deer and like rabbits, but I don't really
Yeah.
see coyotes. I don't run
Yeah.
into bears. So I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's even tragic. Like in Michigan, like I think all the wolverines are, like they're only on like this one island in Michigan.
Really, I don't think I've ever seen a
Basically.
wolf in person.
Well, no, not even wolves. Wolverines. They're like a different thing.
Those are actual animals?
Yes.
Really? I'm gonna look this up. Oh, whoa, they kind of look like oh man, what do they look like? They kind of look like a ferret.
Yeah.
Huh. Are these like really aggressive?
other like scavenger type things, you know, like so because like wolves will finish something off and then Wolverine will like, you know,
So kind of like
scavenge.
hyenas?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, exactly. Or it's like I assume if they're hungry enough, they will like attack stuff.
They're kind
Something.
of cute. Like, I'm an
Yeah.
animal person. I love animals. I mean, like, they're kind of cute. I like if they were
Yeah.
friendly, I would go up and pet it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if it curled up in your lap, like I feel like you'd be like, "Oh," and then it like bites your arm off.
True.
I take it back. They're not as cute as the first few pictures that came up.
Well, yeah. You know, it depends on the photogenic quality. You know.
Yeah, like I'm gonna send you this picture. Look at this little guy. Hold on. Look at that guy.
Yeah. That's
Little
pretty
belly
cute.
out. Aw.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think this is a good note to end things off for today, Matt.
Cute animals, people.
Cute animals. You know, maybe for the next episode, I'll get a bunch of pictures of my animals, because I don't know if I told you, I have 5 cats and 2 dogs.
That is a lot of animals.
Yeah, it's a lot of animals. And we could do a little show and tell, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure. Begin.
Let's go.
I'm down to
We could get someone. We
whatever.
could see if we could get someone else on. We'll do a little 3-way show and tell.
Yeah,
Oh,
about
we should
animals.
we should just do a show and tell of just random stuff.
True. We could do that.
Big brain play. I'm so smart. I'm so smart figuring things out week before.
Yeah.
But-
Exactly.
But this has been Demon Time.
Yeah.
You are,
Matt GottJaeger Eriksen.
and I am
Jeremy
Spoonz.
Spoonz Byle.
No way. Isn't that crazy? This has
Yeah.
been Demon Time, and we will see you all next week. See ya.